So I think that's some of the transition that we've seen, is a more focus on really concise responses from these engines that have quality and accuracy and more control. And then a lot bigger focus on ROI and cost savings, and how does this actually save us time throughout the organization. I think something we've seen, Arya, here has also been, we've been talking to larger organizations who you would actually think would be pretty deep into this space, but they're just starting to plan things for 2025 and just starting to get budget and figure out what that use case is and all of that. So I think that's something really interesting. I wanted to bring this up. This is my current obsession here right now, and I think maybe worthwhile to go through how we're thinking about this. And I promise we will get to what's new in Speak. We will get there, but basically built this little calculator, and we're walking through this with clients. This one's specifically related to research in audio and video. A lot of teams that we're working with are doing focus groups. They're doing one-on-ones. This could be like a research firm, or this could be an actual organization who has some research team members on it who are doing client interviews, one-on-one, all that great stuff. What actually happens here, what we do is we take this little hours of audio and video. How many interviews, hours of interviews might you have, or how many focus groups might you have? Just as a common one. Maybe this is 25 hours. So you've got 10 interviews. They go on a little bit more than an hour each. So it adds up to 25. There's this ratio here for, basically, this is a standard accepted. Even when I first started working on Speak, it was basically take an hour of audio or video, transcribe it manually. It's going to take you 4 hours to do, to get it to a high level of accuracy. So you can see, okay, here's the time that adds up if you were going to manually transcribe that hours. Now, again, still challenges around AI transcription and accuracy, but even since we first started Speak in 2019, the strides in accuracy are incredible. And there's also much more intuitive tools, including Speak, that allow you to edit that transcript up to 100%, or embedding professional transcribers directly in that process that then remerges back with the software to still get those huge time savings at a relatively affordable cost. Second part that we've seen here is, okay, great. Now I've got everything transcribed. I want to now analyze this data, and I need to do thematic analysis. I need to pick out verbatim quotes. I need to summarize this both on an individual file level and then also at an aggregate data set level. So we know for an hour of files, it's going to take you maybe 4 hours. And we've had other people say, okay, it's actually 6 hours, or it's actually 8. So we can work with the client or user or customer, say, oh, how long is it taking you to actually do an hour of audio video analysis? So we'll drop back to that ratio. Then we compare it to Speak. So we know it's about a 0.1% ratio, and that does not stack. So the idea here is, if you upload, say, 25 hours at once, it's all going to be back in generally a couple minutes. We do believe there is still some analysis time, that's required even when using Speak. However, you can see it's a huge drop compared to the ratio that you see if you were doing manual analysis. And especially with some of the things that Arya and I have been sharing recently, this AI theme analysis, and then if you combine that with the automation, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, you can basically automate that theme analysis and get this done very quickly. Arya, I know I'm on a little bit of tangent here. Do you want to jump in anything as I'm going through?
No, I don't want to jump in, but I'm excited for you to show people like how much in savings and return of investment they can receive by using Speak. I just wanted to add one point here, and I remember, like, when at the beginning I used to talk to people about Speak, they were like, okay, how can we justify the budget? Or, for example, another thing that I heard as a pushback was like, we don't have enough clients, right, to justify the budget for this product or stuff like that. But back to them, I would say that you don't have enough clients because you don't have enough time and resources to invest into getting new clients, because you are so busy with doing tasks that are so manual, right? I remember one time I was talking to a customer, and she was mentioning that she's still using some old legacy qualitative analysis software that does nothing but just finding keywords. It doesn't do like theme identification like the way our AI Magic Prompt does, but she was saying that sometimes for analysis, it's fairly common between market researchers to just run that and then go home and next morning come back and it's still running. So that's the point. I hope really people understand how much you can save time, manual effort, as well as money by letting AI to take care of all those manual and repetitive tasks, while you are doing the more important thing, which is more human stuff and more strategizing and freeing up your space for something that is actually significant rather than just the manual tasks.
Yeah, and I think you just, in this ROI calculator, we focus on time and cost savings, but you brought up, say if this is your firm and this is actually part of how you generate revenue as a firm, you're opening up more projects because you can streamline them so nicely. And what's interesting is there's this not conflict around AI. I actually agree with this conflict around how does AI fit into this research picture. But I think there's also an emphasis on speed in today's society and market, on being able to run analysis quickly and do it in more real time to get results. And at the same time, Speak's worked hard to give you references or also give you very definable outputs so that you can make sure that you're confident in those outputs. Or for example, say if you do themes, you don't like the first layer, you can just rerun that with the updated instructions to increase the accuracy. So that's the really exciting part that we're seeing here. I'll continue. Ari had no idea I was going to pull this up, so I put him on the spot here. I didn't even know I was going to pull this up at the start. A couple last notes on this breakdown of the actual pricing side here. So professional transcriber, we do still see a pretty decent percentage of research teams who are trying to get basically their data to 100% accuracy. And professional transcription, that is one core way to achieve that. However, it comes with a pretty significant cost. $120 per hour, you're looking at $3,000 even on 25 hours. So if you have 25 hours of audio, it could cost you $3K just to do that professional transcription. Second part is you've got a researcher, and I would say this is a decent range. We see researchers, yes, who are maybe less expensive than this, but we also see research, especially if you consider a bunch of team members working on this all together, to be much more expensive. So you can see this adds up pretty quickly. Where do we go then with Speak? There's the automatic AI transcription. We toggle between models to produce the most accurate, highest quality results for you. And at $1.50 per hour, it's a huge savings. And talk to Ari and I. Ari is a nice guy. If you have lots of hours, you might even be able to get a discount on that depending on the languages and all the stuff that you're using. And then lastly, there's this analysis cost. And we look at this in a couple ways, but part of the analysis is built right in. We extract keywords and stuff, but then we've also got this great AI system that's identifying themes, and that can also be added. And we'll retouch on that point today, but there's some past videos we'll share here that are direct, beautiful walkthroughs. And even Aria has been on his demo recording grind this week. So he's going to have a great video on that. Just one note before I jump into the time savings. I think Aria did touch on, hey, if you're a firm, yes, now you can open up yourself to more projects. Same thing if you're the other side of this, where you're internally working within an organization as a researcher. Maybe you're doing a new product launch and you want to get feedback, or you're doing some marketing, getting Google reviews or whatever. Streamline that analysis, streamline the insight generation. You can move on to different tasks within the organization and be much more effective. So just wanted to touch on that note. Okay, great. We've got the setup here for this ROI calculator, and this compounds a lot. I'll go back to this example, but we can see the costs really start to balloon. They don't get cheaper as you add those hours up if you're doing this manually. And they don't get cheaper necessarily if you're doing it with AI, if you're doing it with Speak, but the scale that it's increasing at is so astronomically smaller than if you're doing this manually. So we'll go back to 25 just because this is often like a project that we'll see 25 hours of audio and video. If you're doing this manually, you've got 200 hours of time ahead of you. If you were to do both professional and automated transcription, you're looking at about $8,000. If you were to just do the automated transcription with the manual analysis, about $5,000. So what is this going to take you? If you're doing this on Speak, it's going to take you 10.1 hours. So 190 hours saved. That's a 95% reduction in time savings. And then what is the cost? If we look at this in Speak, $138. That's the cost that it's going to take you to do this. That's a 98.28% savings. That's almost $8,000 in savings overall. So I think that's just one example. I'll just type one in to just balloon this example where we go to 100 hours. It starts to really add up in overall cost. So super exciting. I think we put that calculator together. We'll also be working on that for a text version of this because we see similar things in text analysis. And overall, this also applies to phone calls in our area. We've also seen a lot of quality control calls where basically when we talk to a team, it's, oh, there's people manually listening to every single call. thousands of calls, and there's entire payrolls and huge staffing literally listening to all those calls each day. So what's interesting is a lot of that work is already codified for those team members, and you can actually give that knowledge to the AI and let it run that analysis for them. Super interesting, compelling. That's it on the ROI calculator. Before I pull this off the screen, any last notes on your side, Arya? All right, he's accepted it. We move on. Okay, let's do it. That is where working with language data save 90% of your time and cost. That's where that comes from. And we just walk through a scenario on that ROI calculator.